So let's just do one more. Right, page 63, the Ten Bodhisattva Grounds, Avataṃsaka Sūtra. Number 3, the consequences of generating the Bodhisattva. Sons of Buddha, when the Bodhisattva first brings forth this resolve, he immediately steps beyond the ground of common persons, enters the station of the Bodhisattva, takes birth into the claim of the Tathagatas. It becomes such that no one can claim his lineage is possessed of any fault, leaves behind worldly destinies, enters the world transcending path, acquires the Bodhisattva dharmas, abides in the Bodhisattva abodes, equally enters the 3 periods of time and becomes definitely bound to realize the unexcelled body in the lineage of the Tathagatas. The Bodhisattva who dwells in dharmas such as these is known as one who dwells in the ground of joyfulness. This on account of his being imperturbable. Souls of Buddha abiding in the ground of joyfulness, the Bodhisattva is completely endowed with abundant joy, abundant pure faith, abundant fond delight, abundant happiness, abundant exultations, abundant ebullience, abundant valiant fortitude, abundant disinclination of disputationness, abundant harmlessness, and abundant disinclination to anger. The base for the first ground, Bodhisattva's joyfulness, Son of the Buddha, Bodhisattva dwelling on this ground of joyfulness, becomes joyful due to the calling to the mind of the Buddhas, becomes joyful to the calling to the mind, the Dharma of the Buddhas, becomes joyful to the calling to the mind, the Bodhisattvas, becomes joyful due to calling to the mind, the conduct practiced by Bodhisattvas, becomes joyful due to calling to the mind, the pure paramitas, becomes joyful due to calling to mind, the exceptional supremacy of the Bodhisattva's ground, becomes joyful due to calling to mind, the destructibility of the Bodhisattvas, becomes joyful due to calling to mind, the Tathagata's teaching of beings, becomes joyful due to calling to mind, the ability to cause beings to acquire benefit, and becomes joyful due to calling to mind, entering into all Tathagata's knowledge and skillful means. He also has this thought: I become joyful due to turning away from abandoning all worldly states. I become joyful due to drawing close to all Buddhas. I become joyful due to departing far from the grounds of the common person. I become joyful due to drawing near the grounds of wisdom. I become joyful due to eternally cutting off any vulnerability to enter the wretched distance. I become joyful due to serving as a place of refuge for all beings. I become joyful due to seeing all the Tathagatas. I become joyful due to being born into the domain of the Buddhas. I become joyful due to becoming of the same nature as all Bodhisattvas. I become joyful due to leaving behind the fear of all circumstances that would cause hair-raising terror. The first ground Bodhisattva 5 kinds of fears. 5 kinds of fearlessness. Why is that? Once the Bodhisattva has gained the ground of joyfulness, he abandons all forms of fearfulness. In particular, they are the fear of failing to survive, the fear of a bad reputation, the fear of death, the fear of rebirth in the wretched destinies, and the fear of all summoners of great assemblies. He succeeds in forever leaving behind all such forms of fearfulness. And why is this? It's because the Bodhisattva has abandoned any perception of self. Thus he does not even cherish his own body. How much less might he cherish any provisions or valuables it happens to possess? As a consequence, he is entirely free of any fear of failing to survive. He does not hope for or seek out offerings from others. Rather, he devotes himself solely to providing for and making gifts to all beings. Consequently, he has no fear of a bad reputation, because he has abandoned the view that conceived the existence of a self, and because he does not perceive any existence of self, he is therefore entirely free of any fear of death. He realized that once he dies, he will definitely not be reborn apart from the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Consequently, he is entirely free of any fear of falling into the wretched destinies. He thinks that to which I aspire is without equal anywhere in the world. How much the less might there be anything superior to it? Consequently, he is entirely free of any fear of the awesomeness of great assemblies. Thus it is that Bodhisattva leaves far behind all such circumstances that might otherwise cause fear and hair-raising terror. That's it, just completing one more, page 66.